Hi guys! Hi. Welcome back. Today is Sunday, May 3rd. It's crazy that we're into May already. It's also our third week of talking about Moses. So today we're going to actually read two stories. We're going to read Moses and the Pharaoh and about the 9 plagues. As far as the project goes, again, we try to find something that you can do at home. It doesn't require a whole lot of materials. But it does take quite a bit of time, and I know today is supposed to be gorgeous, so if you don't do it today, that's cool. If you want to do it on a day that's rainy or in a couple days, that's absolutely fine. Again, I just want to see your pictures. I love to see some response from you guys, knowing that you're doing our projects and staying up to date, so when we get back together, we'll all be on the same page. So, first, we're going to read Moses and Pharaoh. Would you like to start us off?
Yeah.
All right, excellent.
Moses and the Pharaoh. Meanwhile, in Egypt, God also spoke to Aaron. So he went off to find his brother, Moses. When the two men met, Moses told Aaron all the things that God had instructed him to do. Then Moses and Aaron traveled together to Egypt and met with the elders of the Israelites. They performed miracles and great wonders so that the Israelites truly believed that Moses was sent by God to help them.
Now it was time to speak to the Pharaoh. Moses and Aaron requested an audience with the Egyptian king. When at last they stood before the Pharaoh, they announced, "The Lord God of Israel says, 'Let my people go, so that they may worship me in the desert.' But the Pharaoh replied, 'I do not know your Lord, and I will not let the Israelites go.' So Moses and Aaron went on. 'The God of Israel has asked us to go into the desert to offer him sacrifices. If we do not obey, God may strike Egypt with plagues.' But the Pharaoh lost his temper and told Moses and Aaron to get back to work. He was so furious, he made life harder for the Israelite slaves, and they were beaten even more.
So the elders of Israel came to Moses and complained bitterly. 'You have just made matters worse,' they said. Moses knew that they were right, and he felt dismayed and confused. But God spoke to Moses again. 'Do not be afraid,' he said. 'You will soon see what happens to Egypt. I will make the Pharaoh so sorry that he will almost beg the children of Israel to leave.' God again promised Moses that his chosen people, the Israelites, will go free.
So Aaron and Moses asked to see the Pharaoh once more. They warned him that if God did not let the people of Israel go free, God would bring terrible disasters upon his country. But the Pharaoh just laughed. 'The Israelites will not leave,' he said. 'I do not believe in your God.' And he sent Moses and Aaron away. So God did as he had promised. Soon strange and terrible things began to happen in Egypt. So we'll look up here. You can see Aaron and Moses and the slaves down here. And that's them talking to Pharaoh and pleading with him. And he didn't believe in their God or the God. All right.
The only God.
All right, the 9 plagues.
First, God told Moses to take his staff and touch the surface of the Nile River. As he did so, the water turned red as blood, and all the fish in the river died. There was not a drop of water that anyone could drink. Next, God sent a plague of frogs upon the land. Thousands of large, slimy frogs teemed out of the stinking river water and filled the palace and houses. They hopped around the kitchens, jumped on the food, and slithered inside the beds of the Egyptian people.
They slithered in the beds. The Pharaoh summoned Moses. 'I will let your people leave,' he said, 'if you get rid of these frogs.' So Moses prayed to God, and the frogs died. But as soon as they were gone, the Pharaoh changed his mind. Then God sent a plague of thousands of stinging gnats, followed by millions of huge fat flies that swarmed into every house and covered the ground in a great crawling mass. So once more the Pharaoh promised to let the Israelites go, but again he changed his mind.
After that, God killed all the Egyptian sheep, goats, and camels, and plagued the Egyptian people with huge, festering boils. Still, the Pharaoh would not budge.
So the Lord sent a terrifying storm over Egypt. Lightning flashed the ground, thunder roared, and huge hailstones pelted down. They crushed everything beneath them. But the Pharaoh would not free his slaves.
Then God sent a plague of hungry locusts that flew in the dense black clouds and devoured all the crops. There was nothing green left on any tree or plant in all the land of Egypt. When the Pharaoh still remained stubborn, God brought a terrible darkness over the Egyptians. For 3 days it was so black that no one could see anything at all.
Throughout these plagues, Goshen, the area where the Israelites lived, did not suffer many of the plagues sent to the Egyptians. God was showing the king of Egypt who was in control. But even after all that had happened, the Pharaoh still refused to let the children of Israel leave Egypt. "Get out of my sight," he screamed at Moses. "If I see you again, you will die." So Moses left the Pharaoh and waited to see what God had planned next. So there's a picture of Moses turning the Nile River. There is all the herds getting wiped out by some sickness. Then, we forgot the frogs and the flies down there too. And then over here we have a great storm, locusts. And here's where Pharaoh tells them to get out of my sight. So, for our project, you're really only going to need a few things. Piece of paper, pencil, pen. I used a pen too. You don't need to, but pencil just because it's easier to start and then go back through. And then markers or crayons or any type of color, really. So, I will tilt this down so you can see what we're doing here, possibly. All right, so what we did here, you can use the pencil, I'll use the pen.
Yay.
What we did is we made the numbers, okay? And we just drew them out ourselves. There's a 1.
There's a 1. You can see.
Yep. And then a 2. So these are just going to be up to 9. We're going to make the plagues.
2.
All right. 3, 4. Might have gone a little too big here. 5. So I think it's kind of crazy when you really think about that. How many warnings did Pharaoh get? He got a lot of warnings. There were 9 plagues. All right, 7. And he still tried to keep God's people. 8. And 9. And again, it doesn't need to be perfect. Some of the projects I saw were like huge, and I thought, you know what, just to have a little thing would be cool that we can keep track of. So my 9 doesn't have a dot or a circle.
Mine does.
All right, again, not perfect, and that's okay. And then underneath each of them, we're going to write what the plagues were. So the first one, we're going to write blood. And you can go back over it and do it in red if you want. You can do it however you want. So we'll do blood. And the second one, we're going to do frogs. And then we're going to do bugs. There were gnats, but we can do bugs. And then flies. And then we just did herds to talk about how the animals and the flocks were killed. And then we have boils, and then hail, locusts. I did some in capital and some not. And then darkness. And then what you're going to do, it's very simple. You're going to go through each one and you're going to draw that thing. All right? So we already did this. And like I said, it took us a while. So feel free to take your time. I'm going to tilt you back up. Feel free to take your time. It doesn't need to be done today. Enjoy the weather while you can. But I would like to see you guys do these because it was interesting because when we were talking after we did this, I asked Thomas if he remembered what the plagues were, and he got pretty much all of them. I think missed one or two, but
I only missed hail.
But we got them in order and everything. So this is what our finished products look like. Thomas, do you want to show yours first?
Sure. See? The blood, the frogs, bugs, flies, cows, and a gravestone. And then, if you can see, we've got boils, then we've got hail, and locusts, in leaves, and 9 darkness.
Alright, so then this one's mine. I'll just hold it like that since you already know what they all are. My fly is kind of hard to see on there. Mine's a little bit dark, but the boils, I just put an Egyptian guy with dots on his face. You know, you can kind of make it your own. Darkness, we did eyeballs and solid black. Locusts, I tried to draw some plants they were eating, and frogs, the river from blood. Bugs, I just did all different types of bugs on there.
Me too.
But yeah, you know, it's a fun little thing. You can keep this then as a reference. I wish that I had one of these when I was a kid so I could remember what they were. You know, you talk about the plagues and you try to remember. And I don't know about you, but I always remember locusts. And I always remember the Nile River being blood. But I can never seem to remember them all in the order. But now now that I have my cheat sheet, I think I'll remember.
Me too.
All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for tuning in. Again, I miss you all dearly. Can't wait to see you guys soon. Hope that you're all well, and send me pictures of your projects. I can't wait to see them. Bye.
Bye.